Right. Welcome, welcome. Dorsey's Resource. Just wanted this video to not be too long. Just want to wish everyone a happy new year. We're now into 2023. By the way, there's some things I wanted to discuss. Thank you. Big shout out and big thank you to all my loyal subscribers, those who follow me throughout the years, those who continue to rock with me, even if I haven't been able to respond to you. Thank you so much, those who have subscribed and follow me on all my social media as well. Big shout out to you. So we're now in 2023. I wanted to discuss some things that are on the horizon. Also, normally I would leave a message in this new area. I'm still learning YouTube. I'm not really used to the whole content creator influencer thing, by the way, because of I kind of had my momentum thrown off because of the censorship. By the way, in case you guys are wondering, I still have some of the other social media platforms on standby. What I had been considering bringing content before you guys. I have been busy with this job, of course. Just to give you all a heads up, I know I don't have to put this out there. Maybe TMI, too much information, but I don't mind. Some people show a lot more of their lives. I'm not really so much into the blogging aspect, but I don't mind sharing some of you guys with you all some of my personal information so you guys know what's going on. Some of you all that do know me behind the scenes, by the way, know what's really going on. I'm still on the graveyard shift, by the way, and I'm making plans. I know some of you guys have been wondering, hey, Dorsey, you've been around, you've been doing this information for years, especially those who come watch my videos in relation to the sovereignty redemption information. I even had a brother ask me some years ago, said, why are you not free yet? And I said, yep, that's a good question. And I can answer that, but, it will take you down a rabbit hole. Trust me, if you have an open mind. But I have learned a lot of new information. I still do study, contrary to popular belief. I've learned some things that some of the top gurus or experts are not even discussing. I've just been trying to figure out a way to gather support because when you guys do donate to the channel, super chat, it does help out and it carries some momentum. And I see this with other big influencers, content creators. They'll say, hey, if they can get a certain number of cash apps in, they'll deliver potent information. And I'm gonna let you guys know I'm like that too. So if you guys want to see me go talk about more heavier information, sometimes if you guys donate, show support, I will do those things. But I'm also working on like a subscription service. And I should have done this a long time ago. I was actually really close to starting a Patreon a long time ago when I saw the censorship on the horizon. But I also, at the time, I had kind of backed off because I had heard at the time that Patreon was even censoring, by the way, and I was still looking for another secure platform that I could move my content over to and didn't have to worry about certain topics that I would talk about being removed. In this channel not too long ago was actually real close for the first time ever to being removed. I had never had that happen before. I had something, you guys let you read between the lines, but now it's not in danger alert or red alert anymore. But I had to kind of fall back for a minute. I had to kind of tone down some of the topics I was discussing. And to give you guys a heads up, I still wanted to touch on those issues, but I was receiving behind the scenes sabotage. I will, go more in depth. Some people I work with, I do share what's going on, that there was some hating going on behind the scenes. By the way, remember when I used to do a lot of those lives on Sundays? By the way, well, just put it this way, my boss with my job, my current employer, because I'm still punching the clock, and I haven't figured out how to master the discharges yet, which they've been breaking a lot of laws, those that study the redemption information, sovereignty. They really, really have. I did a video, by the way. YouTube updated their platform where they changed things around. So my views have been affected by it because now it's not really like it used to be where you would see all my videos combined. Now you have to click on the live video separately. It used to be all combined when you would just click on the video section. But I'm just letting you guys know in my video section, I did a video a while ago. This was a masterpiece. This was a video I could probably move to another platform I could have charged for. I've had excellent feedback. You guys even looked at the likes. It was a video I did on negotiable instruments. It was like a couple of videos, and I did an updated version on negotiable instruments, and it dealt with discharging, like discharging debt, paying your bills, and I went into very thoroughly what I was taught by a guy locally here in Detroit some years ago. I mentioned his name behind the scenes. I haven't saw him in a number of years, but big shout out to I ran into him a few years ago at a coin shop. By the way, I'll just say his first name, Del Rico, aka Del. Big shout out to a heavy hitter. I had experience battling judges in the courts earlier on. I haven't been in contact with him in a number of years. Just that last time we ran into each other, I got his number. He told me he was really busy. He was running like 3 businesses at the time. By the way, but it's good to see one of my mentors, one of my early mentors, I met around November of 2004. The summer after I found out about this information, I met through a music artist, by the way, a guy named Daryl Bernard. I think he moved to California. Big shout out to Daryl, who invited Dale and his friend Mark. I only met Mark that one time in person, but I met with him several times after that. He really helped me get an understanding that when I first got involved in this information. To give you guys a little background, there's a lot of new people on the scenes that are teaching and sharing the redemption information. That's good because throughout the years I found it difficult. There's a lot of things that was hard for me to really cover because I felt it was too sensitive. You guys know there's people out there who would mess the information up. There's people who were reselling the information but didn't have the correct info. There was people out there scamming people, all sorts of stuff. So that's why I held back on certain information. And but to give you guys a heads up, Lady Tech, who I'm still in touch with, by the way, are you guys familiar with Lady B? But lately I've been referred to as Lady Tech. I've shared with her some of my research that I'm still doing behind the scenes. I have some new powerful information that a lot of gurus are not even talking about. I won't go into the details of that because I know it's people that still that are advanced and watch my videos, and they'll take some of my information and they'll, I'm not saying they'll sell it, but it helps empower them. But I think some people out there don't have maybe necessarily good intentions. By the way, this information, because we're coming into a time where we have a lot of gatekeepers, people you guys have heard me that work for the cabal. They are real. There is a ruling class elite, contrary to popular belief. I plan on bringing some videos before you guys, hopefully soon, where I'm going to go more in depth and break down what they're trying to do, who they are. When I come across and speak to people in person, I go a little bit more in depth. I know how to break certain things down a certain way. I caught one brother's attention. I won't say where. It's at a place of business. I'll just leave it at that. I won't say what type of business. If it could be a bank, a gas station, a store, etc. You know how you interact with people. Just to give you guys an idea, or school. I won't say specifically because, but just make a long story short, he was knowledgeable and dropping some information with me, and he was surprised how I was able to break down. And I didn't make sure I didn't want to try to spook him, but I figured he was already red pill, as they call someone who's really awake to the truth. And some people asked me years ago, what do I mean when someone is awake to the truth? Or what I mean by that's a person that's red pill. If you've ever seen the movie Matrix, by the way, you know that there's people you try to explain this information to, and they're the type of people, they don't want to listen. They just brush it off or say, hey, you're trying to save the world. I don't really care about the other people. And that's fine. I've always said, when I was speaking to some of the elites, I said, in my opinion, those of us who are trying to become free, you should let us get access to our wealth at the time when I was going through that private event, instead of making it more difficult, because some of us had already paid our dues, we put in the work, we put in the time, we paid hundreds of dollars for the seminars, and it's a damn shame many of us are still not funded, by the way. And, you know, there's other things I could go into, and what I was saying is that you guys have enough slaves, enough people who want to be brainwashed in the system and the public side. They don't want to know. I've actually met a lady some years ago said she didn't want to know about the Illuminati stuff. So I said, okay, I won't, you know, try to pressure. I won't talk about it. But there had someone tell me that. Now, there are a lot of people I speak to, don't be afraid, who are actually receptive to the information. And I asked, and they said they know who the Illuminati is. Better term, the ruling class elite. It's a global criminal syndicate that's into eugenics. They want population reduction. This is what the Georgia Guidestones was written about, by the way. So I plan on doing a video more in depth and to show you guys how this ties in with the banking system and why it's important for you all to become sovereign, technically to become a private citizen, because there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. Citizen, someone is telling me, one of my other mentors, a citizen is a subject, a slave. So when someone is using that term, sovereign citizen, you have to be careful of that, because a lot of times they're using that in a way like the mainstream media, when they don't like that people are putting out truthful information or waking up masses to the truth, they'll discredit these people and they'll use trigger words. They'll oftentimes call them conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, what else is it? Election deniers. You know, they have these trigger words: election deniers, anti-vaxxers, conspiracy theorists, none of which I'm not. I've always been a realist. I've been real my whole life. I have a lot of experience, more so than some of your top people with PhDs, college degrees. I have, even though I'm college educated, even though I only got up to my associate's degree, I took credits towards my bachelor's, but I have life experience. And I have experiences that some people haven't experienced. And some of you guys know, like when I shared that black card years ago, that story was real. There's more information. I may do a follow-up down the line because YouTube moved another one of my videos behind the scenes not too long ago. By the way, when I told you all there had been an attack to take down my channel, and that group that I was affiliated with, one of the administrators, they were the ones who I was talking about. They didn't want me doing YouTube videos. I was literally being threatened by them, where they only want, if someone was going to be public, they want to control who that mouthpiece is. Kind of like how Klaus Schwab from the UN, or World Economic Forum, one of the top people, if you've heard of Klaus Schwab, you can look him up. He bragged that Justin Trudeau, when that trucker protest was going on in Canada, he said that was one of their people they had on the inside, basically one of their gatekeepers, one of their underlings, one of his minions, by the way, just like the guy that overthrew Bolsonaro in Brazil. It's not a coincidence why the mainstream media that's bought off and paid for, some call the lamestream media, put this guy Lulu on a pedestal who had been in prison before. And I saw video footage from independent media out there, if you have your eyeglasses on and you're paying close attention. You know, I'm a brilliant, astute person. I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. I had to cut in one former coworker who used to accuse me of that. And if you guys know, I can even revert back to my research is I'm so well studied. By the way, when I debate scholars, I'm a scholar myself, and I'm an academic. When I debate other scholars and academics, I'm so well studied, I can point to even when the FBI did an article some years ago, if you guys remember, and they talked about conspiracy theories, they actually said, I said, there's a loophole, I bet, within this article. And they said there's some conspiracies, they actually admitted this. This is a report put out by the FBI. So these are not my words. This is straight from the horse's mouth. So fact check can't lie or try to twist what I say, because the ADL friend of mine that's a historian told me, another friend of mine that's the equivalent of a 5-star historian told me, that YouTube gets their marching orders from the ADL. The ADL plays a key role in the censorship. He was explaining. I said, I have no idea at all behind. If you're wondering, if you have 40,000 subscribers and you probably should have 600,000, and you've been messed with as well, the ADL has something to do with it. That stands for Anti-Defamation League. And they were created to basically cover up the crimes or criminal acts of the power structure that is connected to their ethno group that converted to Judaism, the same people that went after Kanye West. That proves that there is an Illuminati, by the way. That proves that there is a ruling class elite. If you have all these other music artists and entertainers, a friend of mine pointed this out, just giving credit where credit is due, who are afraid to speak out because they're going to get canceled and their pockets are not as deep or whatever. It shows you there's a power structure in place. You know, this proves that there's an Illuminati, and I didn't hardly hear that many people really break this down in depth. But I was saying that I can prove everything I talk about. I have supporting documentation to validate it. I'm a credible person. So this shows you when people try to accuse you of these things, this is how you can detect that they're an agent, by the way. And I'm going to go more in depth down the road. People that are part of secret societies, if they're females that are Eastern Stars, I'm going to talk about Masons, different secret societies, there's different levels. And I'm not saying everybody that is part of these organizations, these fraternal orders or chapters, because you know they're within government, like a lot of judges, lawyers, before they can become a judge or they have to be a lawyer first, and they have to pass the bar association. There's like an allegiance, by the way, but it's like, you know, if you ever wonder why a lot of people, when they go to college, they have family members who were previously initiated. It's not a coincidence why certain people sign up to pledge for sororities, fraternities, and things like that. Steve Coakley, rest in peace, too. He was an investigative journalist in the Black community, because we don't really have anyone that was like Alex Jones, except for years ago, Angela Stanton, who did a video with Alex recently on Band.video not too long ago. It had to explain to Alex in the interview. It's funny, and she broke this down very well, because Alex said he wanted to know why more Black people don't speak up to real important information. This is important. There's people that try to brush this off, but these gatekeepers try to cover this up. They all notice they're always trying to get you to party, like we just had New Year's, get you distracted, get you dancing to the music all the time. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun, do things laid back, but that's what you do in your downtime. But they want a demographic of the population to just stay brainwashed, to stay stuck on stupid, to stay blue pill, not red pill. And I became red pill years ago on my own, by the way, because I had questions. My aunt told me when I was a little boy, my aunt, one of my mother's oldest sister, who's in Cleveland, Ohio, I found out years later, she went to a school for gifted children. I didn't know this originally. I was listening to Dr. Umar Johnson, who is a registered psychologist, who's very well studied, and he used to say they used to test Black children for gifted. And I said, what is Umar talking about? Then I did some research and I connected some dots, because I'm really good. They say people who are brilliant, who are geniuses, are able to connect dots or formulate pictures, people that have artistic abilities. And I found out, I talked to my mother and found out my aunt, her older sister, went to a school was designed for gifted children. My aunt told me when I was a little boy, this is a true story, I used to ask a lot of questions. And she said, you were inquisitive. And I think for one of the Christmases years ago, can't remember which Christmas specifically, but they commend me because I have such a good memory. She bought me these books called the Tell Me Why books. They're supposed to teach children about life and different questions they had, because she said you're very inquisitive. So if you wonder why I use these big words sometimes, because some of the kids in the neighborhood, when I moved to Detroit, which is in the ghetto, the hood, some of my friends used to tell me, hey, you talk white. You know, I had to explain it to them. My parents took me to church. I grew up a church boy, a city boy, but that gave me a foundation for my moral structure. But then I balanced it out with having to be in the hood and learn the street life. So I have the best of both worlds. I've got the combination of the two, and I'm left-handed, which is unique. Not a lot of people, you know, a certain portion of the population are born left-handed. So just think about it. There's some other things I can go into. So when people accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist or talk about things that are outside the norm, I also took psychology at two different colleges. One, when I went to school in Ohio, I went to DeVry Institute of Technology, which became DeVry University out of Columbus, Ohio, before I transferred to Detroit College of Business. And the reason I explain this, put this in context of collegiate terms, because I mentioned I could debate. I've debated with academic scholars. I'm very well studied in my regard. And I had a psychology teacher at DeVry that said just because people do things or certain things outside the norm doesn't mean people are crazy. I think this is professor. His name was Pigram. His last name, I don't remember his first name. But they generally go by the last names of professors. Professor Pigram at the time told us he described these different people that had these unique skills, these unique talents. And like one lady was an artist or whatever and did paintings of different things in her backyard. And just because someone may look at something as weird or outside the norm doesn't mean necessarily that person is crazy. And that's what he told us at the time, his study of psychology in that field. So I'm telling you, don't always trust the mainstream media. You want to look into the independent media, cross-reference information. You guys know this is why I give you guys sites like Band.video, which reports on the real information. And he's got other independent media organizations that are partnered with them, by the way. And just because some of them may lean more to the right or conservative, I would say they're unbiased, by the way. Some of them don't like some of the establishment rhinos that have taken over the Republican Party too, like Mitch McConnell, others. I was explaining to some relatives of mine about the division, because I have some relatives, I know you guys get this too, that don't like Trump or whatever. And I was explaining, well, I said, the thing is, there's infighting going on. I told them this a while ago, back in November. We were going out for one of my relatives' birthday, I won't say. And I said, actually, there's a rift going on. They didn't know about this. And then I noticed I started seeing this in the media. So it's almost like this relative I have, I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like they're connected to some people high up. I noticed. And they weren't even aware of this. I said, Trump might not even get in. I said, they're talking about DeSantis. I told a friend of mine, because I'm not a registered voter, guys. I'm just very aware. I'm politically astute. That means I pay attention to what's going on. I don't just stay brainwashed and stuck on stupid. Or I don't wait for CNN to tell me what to believe next, or MSNBC. I think for myself. Remember, use critical thinking, brainstorming. Remember how your English teachers in schools, if you were a scholar, would break up the students in a class into different groups and would have you read, brainstorm about a book or whatever they went over to try to unlock, the parts of your brain to get you to use, to think and have these abilities and network with other students. But I use critical thinking. I had told a relative, I said, I know they hated Trump a lot. They were talking about his taxes, this, that, and the other. And I said, well, there's another thing you guys might not be aware of, but there's a lot of people within the Republicans that are actually behind DeSantis. And then you have establishment people, by the way, who are like into the Mike Pence types and others out there who some consider rhinos or whatever. And I was telling them how this shows you I pay more attention, and they're actually registered voters. You see, the problem I have with the Democrats and people in the establishment, they just want you to be registered, and they don't want their voters to know about the political issues. They don't want you to become active. Let's say if there's cheating going on, which has been going on for years, by the way, on both sides of the aisle, going on a long time ago. They just want people to obey, to be yes men and yes women. And that's the problem with society, is if you care about your children, you have grandchildren, nieces and nephews, they're going to grow up in a world, if you don't take action now, that is going to be not like the world you and I grew up in. Those of us that are older, you guys can read between the lines. And I'm just sending a warning. When I mention this stuff to you guys out here and I speak truth to power, I go over high-powered information, and maybe too heavy for some people, but just understand, I'm not doing this out of malice. I'm not trying to spook you. I'm really trying to warn you, but wake you up to the truth as far as what's going on. But I do want you guys to have fun at the same time. And, that's why I do listen to the music and stuff, but it clues me in. I pay attention to what's going on, out here. And I'm just encouraging you guys, even when I would say stay woke, I mentioned it from a red pill perspective, that when you're really awake to the truth, I'm awake in multiple regards, not just in one regard, but, I'm really awake. And I just want you guys to be inspired and use critical research and thinking. By the way, just don't trust the mainstream media. Don't trust the narrative. You have to be very, very careful because these ruling class elite, I told you, like I told this one guy, caught his attention. I won't say where, because he put me up. He was very knowledgeable about the banking system. And I said, okay. So I knew he would be receptive of the information I shared. I said, it kind of went some levels above where he was at. He didn't know this. I said, yeah, you know, the elites, they want to kill you. They want population reduction. And Video, AJ does a great job. I watched, you know, he has a lot of videos I can't even keep up with, by the way, and I cross-reference with other independent media that are out there, and he breaks it down very well. I didn't know it was this deep some years ago. And look at what the files, if you've heard about the Twitter files that Elon is releasing, what we heard about is actually coming to pass. That even, I don't know if you guys heard, did you know the FBI put out a report and they're trying to accuse, because this information is being exposed, like what Katie Hobbs did to have people censored. You guys that know, that's aware of what's going on in Arizona with Kerry Lake. But these are the Twitter files, and there's a bunch of other information that hasn't even been uncovered yet that they're discovering. And big shout out to Elon. One of the good things he's doing, because I know people are critical of him, and they should be. People that are, you know, in certain categories as billions, because many of them don't have our best interest at heart and proven not to. But who else would have exposed this at that level? You know, so that's why I say big shout out to Elon. These Twitter files are real. This is a form of declassified documents, how Twitter was colluding with the election. It wasn't no Russia hacking and all this. But and more files came out that show how the hardcore left, democratic socialists, and hardcore people were using it and weaponized it to target people. And I was going to show you guys, ever since Elon bought Twitter, this is no lie. You guys can check out, like if you go to my previous videos, you know, I put the links in there where to follow me. And I shared a post on there when I was showing my support for Kyrie Irving and Kanye West. I put out a post. I said, all the people, because it's not nothing new, that have spoken out against the power structure. I even put out posts on one of my other Facebook accounts supporting Whoopi Goldberg. I support free speech. Even if I don't agree, I support, that's your right to your freedom of speech, by the way. And I mentioned all these other people, from Tila Tequila to Tupac Shakur, Lauryn Hill. They went through the same thing. I found out Tupac years ago, the video he did with Snoop Dogg called Two of America's Most Wanted. Allegedly, it was put out that he said he wanted to go mess with some Jewish girls after the video. I heard this was actually in the video, and they had to edit the scene out because he said they were real strict back then, Jewish girls, and they edited that scene out. And other people that have stood up against the power structure or have been canceled for their beliefs, religion. This even includes religious beliefs. And do you know, when I shared this post, I never got this many shares before on Twitter. So this shows you, just like this YouTube channel, they were messing with the algorithm. Now, can you see how, to give you guys an example, if you think, just use basic critical thinking. This doesn't take rocket science. You don't have to be a genius to understand what I'm breaking down. So can you see how they've hurt my AdSense revenue, the little bit that I make? Because you have to reach like $100 threshold per month. If you don't hit that, then it rolls over to the next month. But there's other channels they allow, and other people that put out deviant information, like I mentioned to you guys, with the rapper Lil Nas X, some called Little Nasty X, put out a video where he's lap dancing with the devil, and it doesn't get censored. There's another video, he had millions of views. There's another video, he's dancing with men in prison butt naked. It was just so disgusting, abhorring. I couldn't even stand the rest. I found out about this from a young black conservative channel that I follow. Just happened to check out. I'm not personally a registered voter. I don't vote. I just stay very politically. I stay aware of what's going on. And they didn't censor this. This was very offensive to people. You know, people that are even passionate about their religious views. And I still celebrate Christmas and things. I'm not a religious freak, but this is very repulsive. But I make a video talking about my opinion of what I saw dealing with the election. And YouTube censors it. Multiple videos I did on misinformation. I did a video even on not just this channel, but my backup channel, talking about, you know, my opinion, my stance about the vaccine. They'll say, oh no, they're calling it medical misinformation. Yeah, right. But what you have to ask the question, I asked the question, what information do they have? Like if you get into a debate with someone, what information do you have to prove that that's valid, that that works? When I seen all these people dying and a lot of manipulation going on, but you can also flip it on the other person and say, okay, if you call me a conspiracy theorist, what proof, what evidence do you have? Well, yeah, I know you guys are saying, yeah, that's a good point, Dorsey. Yeah, what evidence do you have, mainstream media? What facts are you bringing? Because you all are not doctors either. So notice when they come up with these trigger words, they call you conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, election denier. Bullshit. Check the independent media, like I tell you guys, and just in case anything happens, you guys have my other social media where to follow me. But this is why I want you guys to know. This should not be allowed. And why are politicians not going after these people? There was laws on the books. If we are a nation of laws, and I said this, why are they not being enforced? And I said this, I thought about this even with the elections, numerous laws on the books. And I was listening to one individual, I won't say the name, by the way, who had been heavily censored. And he said many of these judges, they didn't even look into it. And I said, what? I said, this fan. Why is that we had laws on the books that are in our favor? And many of these judges had to swear an oath of office. They had to become lawyers before they were even judges. So what type of law are they practicing? So I told a friend of mine, what's going to start happening is if people can't get justice through the courts, people are going to start taking matters in their own hands. And I said, really, I'm not saying this out of spite or things. I just said this is what it looks like, that, just common sense, that when they're doing things and they're allowing their own to get away with it and they're targeting one particular group, that's only so long before that other group is going to retaliate and it's going to get retribution before something happens. Now, I heard that this is what I like about conservatives, Republicans generally, most of them are Christians. I say they're more ethical. They don't rob Peter to pay Paul. They're not perfect. They do have their flaws. But I say they're trying to be more honorable, it appears like, and they're trying to honestly go through the courts. So the judges and lawyers would contribute to another set of riots happening. They would be a direct contributing factor by them not honoring the laws and not going by the Constitution. When there's laws and things already on the book. And I told a friend of mine, there's an example. I won't go into the details. I saw one guy did something, retaliated, and actually targeted a group of people. And I said, wow, I saw an example, and I shared it with a friend of mine. I said, see? And I said, these people were probably messing with him, or he probably saw something he didn't like, and this is only the beginning, that people are going to start taking matters into their own hands. If there's a breakdown, that's why you have to have a police. You have to have order. And I respect order. But you cannot have a society that is just one-sided, where they're letting one group get away with things like the Hunter Biden laptop and Hillary Clinton's emails and things, and the FISA warrant, when individuals illegally surveilled a certain individual's campaign. But individuals just mainly getting targeted, and these other groups of people are still out scot-free, and their secret security clearances are not being messed with, and they've caused numerous harm to the general public, commercial injury, in a more egregious fashion than I would say that guy that y'all going after with the tax return. There's numerous other instances one can point to. So I said it's only a matter of time, and I just fear, these courts, politicians don't get their act together, the people are going to start taking matters in their own hands, and that's something, they don't want. So they need to get their act together, because that's what I fear taking place. I'm just saying that as a heads up, what I see coming down the road, because people aren't going to put up with it. You're going to see real pitchforks in the street. So I'm going to take this time to acknowledge people who just jumped in. Secret Balance says, hi, Dorsey. Thank you for your work. Appreciate you. Tate says, greetings. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you all. Also, happy belated Christmas. I know you guys didn't see a message from me. I do celebrate. Also, happy Kwanzaa. To you guys, happy belated Hanukkah as well. The other holidays, festivities. Happy New Year's to you all. Secret Balance says, will you do a Patreon? I'm considering it, by the way. But I did hear a while ago, the reason I didn't start a Patreon, because I also heard they censored too, somehow, or whatever, or people may have been, patrons may have been reporting things. So I was looking for a platform. They have other subscription services out there that I'm going to have to look into. It's one I came across, I didn't bookmark it. I'm going to have to look for some other ones where I will be able to put out content, maybe documents or videos on there. And I was even considering doing some webinars for you guys too. You guys, I wouldn't make it expensive at first, maybe $35 a seat per seat, and go over some heavy information, share with you guys some inside knowledge about some things. I also have some information about health. Thinking about doing a health webinar. You know, they're real close to some things about slowing down the aging process. By the way, some things I know about. There's some other things I know. I will say that for later. I'm considering, if you guys are interested in those type of things, I need to know. But I'm considering down the road. I have some powerful information. I would even be able to go into what products I have purchased. I actually did a video a while ago. I couldn't say which video it is if I remember. If it wasn't one of the videos that was removed or censored, I actually went over products I took a while ago. And I went over some information I won't go into the details about, but I'll save that for down the road if I do like a webinar in relation to that topic, by the way. But there's some things. I also have some new information pertaining to how to be more private, and how to stay out of contract that would help you out if you're involved, if you know about the redemption information. Those of y'all that know about the straw man, or, you know, want to bulletproof themselves. And I actually shared this with someone that's part of a group out there that had her paperwork done. I brought something to her attention, but I know the name. I had to look it up, and she understood what I was talking about. So it's funny. The reason I'm vague with you sometimes, because like I say, I'm trying to get paid. Of course, if you guys support the channel, cash at me, donate, I will go over more information. But there's a lot of people who just, you know, want information for free, or just want to just come here, and they don't want to show the support. So I do that. I speak vaguely sometimes, because there's some really powerful things that I do know that can help you guys that are already advanced, by the way. And there's some new information, and this definitely will help you, because I know there's a lot of people who have had paperwork, status correction done, and are still contracting a certain type of way. And there's something I know about that's going to be important, by the way. And that's all I'll leave it at, because I say too much. Some of you guys will figure it out. WX2 says, Happy New Year, my friends. I hope this year is better than last year, and that something beautiful happens very soon for you. It all starts with just a single thought. Appreciate it. Yes, says the Matrix sent Agent Smith to snatch up Andrew Tate. Yeah, I heard about that. What happened to Andrew Tate? Yeah, it sounds like I said it sounds like he was set up, and that's what a couple people said out there. You know, they were after him, and it's not a coincidence. By the way, when I look at the fact that he was banned from a couple social medias, I had never heard of him before. I didn't even realize that. I didn't even know that Alex Jones. I saw he did an interview with him some years ago. I didn't know who he was, because Alex Jones has interviewed so many people, and said he mentioned when Andrew Tate had got banned from a couple social medias, when that was in the independent news sometime last year, some time ago. He said a lot of his listeners follow Andrew Tate. That's how I found out about him. I had no idea who he was. So, see, there's people out there that think that I know everything, and I'm honest with you guys about what I know. I don't lie like the mainstream media does. You know, I don't have the funding like George Soros. If I did, if I had pockets as deep as Soros, I would pay you guys to wake up to the truth. I may have you guys do a test, give someone here's 10,000 or whatever. I will pay people to wake up to the truth. I wouldn't use my wealth for evil purposes like him and Bill Gates are doing, a.k.a. William Gates, who his father was a member of Planned Parenthood, by the way. He's a eugenicist. These are very, very evil people. Klaus Schwab, another one, very wicked, sinister people. They pretend to be the good guys. They pretend to be philanthropists, but they're not. They're very, very sinister, demonic, evil, wicked people. When you learn about their agenda, that's why you need to go to band.video to learn the real information. I'm trying to think what some other independent medias. Check out the Stu Peters show. He puts out real good information on Rumble. Check out Brighteon.com. Look up Brighteon. That's Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Go to BitChute, BITCHUTE. That's another independent web hosting platform. Minds.com, MINDS, Minds.com. Check them out. Another independent media site. You have another version that's like Twitter. You have Getter out there, GETTR, Getter.com. You have FrankSpeech.com. Get on there. You have Trump's site, TruthSocial.com. These platforms are growing exponentially. What's another one I can think of? And Parler is back, still out there. They have their own servers now, so you don't have to worry about them being shut down like when Amazon colluded with big tech. So Parler is still out there. Another option you have other than Twitter. These other platforms are growing exponentially, by the way. Even on Twitter, remember Twitter, Elon bought Twitter now, so Twitter's good again for the time being. As long as Elon's still there, he's releasing the Twitter files as a form of like declassified information. So Twitter's good now. Twitter is good. They're on the good side. I'll say overall, even though you still have leftists still haven't left, they're still trolling on there. But you have these other options, by the way, other web hosting platforms. I went over FrankSpeech.com, Truth Social, Gab.ai is a good one. That's Andrew Torba. Big shout out to. He used to work for Silicon Valley. He saw this coming many years ago. Big shout out to the work he's doing. You have AMTV YouTube channel. Big shout out to Christopher Green, AMTV YouTube channel. I get information over there. By the way, he has his own platform subscription service. By the way, it's numerous people to name, even if I can't think of offhand. I'm just kind of spitballing, freestyling off the top of the head. This is kind of like an impromptu to let you guys know there's other options. You have Library out there, Odyssey, just like Minds.com. They're connected to cryptocurrencies, so you guys can, decentralize can help, because decentralization helps. The regulators out there, by the way, helps deregulate the censorship. Some of these web hosting platforms are connected to blockchain. That's why I'm bringing this up. Just like I think Steemit was. Steemit was another one. You have Odyssey, Library, Theta. I think you have Theta TV. Andrew Torba's Gab.ai has a Gab TV. You have the Brighteon TV. That's Brighteon.com. That's a video web hosting platform. I went over band.video, by the way. So you guys have options to keep up with the independent media. Don't trust MSNBC, CNN. A friend of mine just found out his daughter goes to a school somewhere in Novi. I don't know if that's Oakland County's district. He said he found out. He didn't even know this. They have a CNN for kids because Klaus Schwab with the World Economic Forum made a statement not too long ago. I heard from an independent media say he wants to brainwash the children. He said, I already saw them doing that, like with the other thing that took place some years ago with the agenda, with the guns, with that kid down when that incident happens down in Florida, which I believe that was a false flag, something else that YouTube censors. That school shooting, that Parkland shooting with that kid who became an activist. I think that was all a setup. And they say he was like a crisis actor. He took acting classes at the school. By the way, there was people who exposed it. His father even worked for the FBI. So it's not a coincidence. They've been trying to brainwash kids for years. They've been using that propaganda. So a friend of mine told me he found out, he was mad about this. They have a CNN for kids. He found out his daughter's watching. So I told him that's why you need to be warning your kids. If you're conservative, if you're awake to the truth, you need to start warning them so your kids can become advanced, can become like Obi-Wan Kenobis or Skywalkers or Yodas and what's that? Star Wars. They can start becoming advanced at a type 1, type 2, type 3 civilization status. So this programming, they won't get brainwashed from this propaganda. They will know how to deal with it. So you as a parent, because years ago, my parents did me a detriment when I asked them early on to teach me about the birds and the bees, and they didn't. And I had to learn these things on my own when I got older, when I got to college. There's things I didn't know about. I was still brainwashed, like the mind of a child. Because I have a friend, he's actually mentoring a woman where her son she wanted him to assist because he's retarded. I think they have used another term, even other than learning disability, where he's like 19 or 20 years old, but he has the mind of a 13, 14-year-old. And she wanted him to help like with life skills. You have people like, so when your parents, when you shelter your children and you're overprotective of them, like my parents, where I was a church boy, which I shouldn't have. I'm glad I woke up on my own. I came across a street friend who understood this. Drug dealer of mine years ago woke me up to the truth. And I learned this about the gun culture when I had to work with a lot of the guys who were making fun of me when I worked in the security field. I had to carry a firearm years ago. And one guy asked me, had I ever been hunting before? I told him no. I was out at a park, for example, and a park ranger asked a friend of mine, he understood, he's very well studied. He said, oh, he's a city boy. And I said, oh, that's it. I said, that makes sense because he's from the country. I'm a city boy. So my parents sheltered me. I was brainwashed. So I had to work out of that. So what you want to start doing with your children now to make sure they are advanced, you want to start talking to them, warning them about the agendas that's coming down the road so they already will be prepared for this in advance. You see, so that's why I went to tell you guys that story about myself, use myself as an example, so they won't have to go through what I went through, you see. Well, that's my time, guys. I appreciate you joining me. Should be in the description box once after the video uploads when I transfer everything over. Once again, I want to wish you all a happy New Year, happy belated Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, etc. Until next time, the marathon will continue. Legends never die. They stay in our hearts. Peace. Deuces. I'm out.